watching our webinar on author and artist websites that convert. This is one of the most important tools that you have as an author or artist. Your website is not just a digital placeholder. It is your virtual storefront. It is where people go to learn about you, explore your work, and more importantly, take action. Whether that's signing up for your newsletter, booking services, making a purchase. So think about it. When someone discovers you on social media or hears about you through the word of mouth, what is the first thing they do? Often Google you, search for you on social media app, right? Whatever, they're going to search for you somehow. Now, if you don't have a strong web presence and they Google you, they may not find you at all. Now, some of you may be thinking, I already have social media, so isn't that enough? But the answer is no. Not if you want long-term control over your brand and your audience. And here's why. You don't own these social media platforms. The algorithms change constantly, reach is unpredictable, and accounts can be restricted or even removed without warning. That means relying on social media solely is risky. A website, on the other hand, is something that you own. It is your home base where you set the rules, control the content, and ensure that your audience always has a way to find you. But having a website isn't enough. It needs to be optimized. A well-structured website can improve your visibility on search engines like Google, making it easier for people to find you when they're searching for exactly what you offer. This leads to long-term audience growth, and unlike social media where content disappears quickly, your website actually builds authority over time, which drives traffic and keeps you connected to your audience 24/7. We are often asked, when should I get a website? And the answer that we recommend is as soon as you have a brand to talk about. If you're already talking about your artistry or your author brand, then you need a website. It doesn't have to be anything robust if you're just starting out. You just need a few pages to get started. But building your web presence doesn't happen overnight. So you want to start this process as soon as you know what your domain will be and that you have the capacity to start. So wherever you're at, start there and then build up as you grow. If you don't have a website yet, or if yours isn't doing much for you, now is the time to change that. And in the next part of this webinar, I'm going to walk you through the essential elements of a high converting website and how to make yours work for you. That includes what you need to include on your website, design tips, website builders, SEO, analytics and tracking, and then we'll wrap up with the Q&A. All right, so this is me, Amber Andrews, the CEO of Andrews Artistry, and this is my creative partner here, Brooke. She's our master illustrator and designer and also just keeps me sane on a day-to-day basis. We've spent years working in photography, design, and branding, specifically for creatives. My background is in the corporate world, working in marketing departments with a focus on photography and digital imaging, while Brooke has been published with many publications, including The Washington Post, Scientific American, New York Times, LA Times, Politico, Fossil Ridge Books. I had to write these down because, Brooke, you've been published so many places. So we combine our diverse skills to serve our clients in a wide variety of ways. We are both organizational freaks, which is how we got into web work. Our diverse work experience basically taught us how to create visually stunning and engaging user experience on your website. But what really changed the game for us was understanding how to combine branding with SEO, which is search engine optimization. You're going to hear me say SEO a lot. That's what that stands for. We will get into how to do so later. And when you combine those two things, you can turn your website into a powerful marketing tool. We built our own website from the ground up, and we handled everything: branding, design, content strategy. While it looked great, we realized it wasn't enough. A visually beautiful website without a strategy is like a gorgeous storefront with no foot traffic. So when we rebranded, we approached it differently. We focused on making our website not just look good, but work by optimizing it for search, improving user experience, and ensuring that every visitor had a clear path to take action. I want to show you exactly how this worked. One of our most successful pages was our Dance Poses resource page. We work with a lot of dance studios. And so we had this page up basically as a resource that we could use on set. So we could kind of flip through some example poses. We didn't even think about it long term, and we didn't think about it as a web presence. But this page became a top traffic driver for our site. So we noticed that. and we reevaluated its function. We combined our beautiful imagery with other traffic drivers, and it gave visitors exactly what they were looking for. It was structured in a way that made it easy to find through search engines. So let's review the metrics. The most important thing to know here is that impressions are how often we showed up in top Google results. So when we first launched the page, it was getting around 8,000 impressions, close to 60 page visits, and that was before we put any effort into it at all. So it showed us that this was a topic people were interested in. Once we redesigned it with SEO in mind, we're now at 121,000 impressions and almost 1,000 page visits. So when branding and SEO work together, you don't just have a nice looking website, you have a powerful strategic tool that attracts visitors and converts them into buyers. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do. Next, I'm going to break down the exact strategies that we use to optimize websites for both aesthetics and discoverability. Whether you're launching a new site or refining an existing one, these techniques will make all the difference. Let's dive into the key pages that you want to have on your site if you are an artist or an author. Now, I want to clarify, I am speaking to artists and authors today, but a lot of these tools can be applied to other industries if that applies to you. So your homepage should function as a mini portfolio of everything you offer. It's your digital storefront. Clearly state what you do with a headline that's above the fold. Above the fold, it's like an old newspaper term, but we still use it for web design. It basically means before you start scrolling, right? So if the newspaper was folded, it would be what shows up on that folded half page. Include a strong call to action, which is also called a CTA. You're going to see that a lot too. Like join my email list or buy my book. Think of your homepage like a highway. The CTAs are exits guiding visitors to the right pages so they can continue to explore what you have to offer. The goal is to keep people on your site for as long as you can. And there's two reasons for this. One is you want people to get to know, like, and trust you more. So you want the content that you're offering them to interest them and that they kind of get lost diving into all the material you have to offer. The second reason is that your Google ranking actually improves the longer people are on your site. The next page is your About page. This is your second most visited page. So a lot of people tend to ignore this one and kind of just throw a quick photo and bio up, but this page is very important. Don't think about it like a resume. Instead, tell a story, right? If you're reading a resume, you're going to get bored, you're going to skim. But if you're telling them an interesting story about how you got started, why you're doing this, they're going to continue to read. They're going to be invested. People connect with faces and stories, so make it personal. Feature a great photo of yourself, not just a logo and nothing that's like super dark or hard to see. You can have an artsy photo, but we don't want it to be overly done. It's like a silhouette or something that's like super heavy contrast and you can't make out the person because we want to see your face. It's a chance to be remembered and recognized. Your audience wants to know who you are. And then when they come to your gallery show or your author reading, they'll recognize you. Show your journey, why you do what you do, and what makes you unique. People connect with people, so don't try to be anonymous. When you follow a social media account, you are more likely to subscribe if it's a person rather than a faceless entity. Studies show that's definitely true. So it's a sales page in disguise. You want them to be sold on you as the creator. Brooke was recently telling me about an author that she read, and she just loved his writing, so she went to look him up. But it took her a while to find his site, and once she did, there wasn't any information about him. This is a missed opportunity for you as an author or artist, since people want to know more about who's behind the work and find out what's coming out next. So don't leave them hanging. Our contact page. Make it easy for people to reach out to you. Have a clear and simple contact form, not just an email link, so that people don't miss it. I like to add a couple random questions to our contact form to weed out those spam ones that you can sometimes get. A couple little like, what are you reading right now? Could be really helpful. Include your email address somewhere, just in case there's any issues with your contact form. Count how many sites I visited, especially in the last couple weeks when we've been doing a lot of outreach about this webinar. A lot of sites have their contact form not working, and then they don't have their email listed anywhere that I could access. And so if that's the case and you have a client trying to get in touch with you, you've now lost out. Include a paragraph of text about what you do and who you are. This is just for SEO. You need to have some word count on the page, so you want to make sure that that page recognizes who you are. And then this is also a great place that you can put some frequently asked questions that will also help increase your word count on the page and improve your SEO. If you do not have your social media links in the footer, I would also make sure that they show up on your contact page. And then don't forget a call out to subscribe to your newsletter, which we will get into more. Then there's our blog, where we can share updates and boost our SEO. A blog can showcase your expertise and personality. Blogs keep your website active and relevant, which Google loves. The more you update your site, the more you show up as a resource in Google results. And again, we'll get more into that in the SEO section, but a blog is a great way to ensure that you always have new content to update on your site. Focus keywords can be chosen for various blogs to ensure that you show up for other things as well. And if you hate doing social, this is a great way to create content that you can utilize on social media. Write a blog post and then invite people to read it on social. Give them a teaser. Make a series of videos that outlines what's in the blog and then tell them to check out your blog for the whole story. You've now created all of your content you need for the month. You can also use this as newsletter content. So give a little teaser in your newsletter and then have them jump over to the blog to finish. And then a newsletter sign-up page. So this is the number one way to build an audience. People rarely buy anything on the first visit. So having an email list ensures that you can nurture them with your email marketing over time. You own your email newsletter list, unlike social media platforms. So Instagram or TikTok went away tomorrow, you would have no way to access the people who follow you there. But your newsletter list, even if the place that you are currently hosting your newsletter with goes away, you can move it to another one. You can have pop-ups, banners, or a section on every page with an easy to fill out form. But I'd also make a designated newsletter sign-up page for when you need to track a specific conversion. Just a quick note too, that you can set up separate pages for different needs to track whether marketing campaigns are working as well. Just be sure to have a clear email opt-in and share with them the benefit of joining. So for example, I'll share ours. This is on our homepage and it says, ignite your creative spark, ready to stand out and grow your creative business in a crowded world. Subscribe to our newsletter and receive branding and marketing tips that inspire and help elevate your business, insightful advice to make your brand unforgettable and connecting with your audience, delivered 1 to 2 times per month with thoughtful, actionable content, no fluff, just value. Join our community today and start turning your creative vision into something truly remarkable. So you can see the call to action is at the end there. There's a button to make it super easy for them to follow through. There's just a few little notes about the benefits of joining so that they're sold on acting. So there are 2 most common pages to include that are specific to authors and artists, a portfolio page and an events page. Your portfolio page is going to use to showcase your work. If you're an author, include your book covers, descriptions, and direct links to buy. If you're an artist, display high quality images, project details, and links to buy or to book you if that's applicable. Include any client testimonials, book reviews, anything you can. Even if you're just starting out and you don't have any official reviews yet, have your friends and peers write one for you. Bonus points, if you include a photo of the person next to their review, helps you get authority by showing the person. And also, it just is nice to kind of picture who is reading the book or enjoying the art. Avoid too many unrelated images in your portfolio. Cohesion really matters. Your portfolio should look consistent in how you display your work, and that makes it easier for the buyer to understand what they're looking at. This involves the photography style you use to show your work, the emotion conveyed in the imagery, and more. If you have a series of work, you can easily use that style to separate each type of series, giving it a new look and feel, but making sure it still feels on brand. And then you have your events page, which is for upcoming releases, readings, showcases, and more. And if you don't have anything upcoming, this is a great place to plug your newsletter. So you can say something like, join my newsletter to be the first to hear about upcoming events. Now here's your next steps. Start exploring different builders that you can use to begin your site. We're going to dive into the pros and cons, and I'm going to tell you why you should pick WordPress. Shopify is the best option for e-commerce, offering robust features, scalability, strong customer support. However, it comes with transaction fees unless you use Shopify payments, and it can be really expensive overall. If you have an e-commerce store, definitely use Shopify. If you don't have a lot to sell, there's a lot of other options that you can use and make plugins that apply to other sites instead. Wix offers a drag and drop builder that is beginner friendly and affordable. On the downside, it can be slow, it has limited SEO capabilities, and its design flexibility is somewhat constrained. Weebly provides a simple setup, making it a great choice for beginners and small businesses. That said, it has limited scalability and fewer customization options compared to other platforms. Squarespace is known for its elegant templates and all-in-one platform, making it easy to use with built-in SEO tools. However, it does have limited customization, it can be pricey, and is not as flexible as WordPress. WordPress stands out for its high level of customization, extensive plugins, powerful SEO features, and scalability. Plus, it's free and allows for custom coding. The trade-offs are that there is a steep initial learning curve and the need for separate hosting, which does cost, and then ongoing maintenance. I want to clarify here, we're talking about WordPress.org. WordPress.com is a hosted service, and WordPress.org is a free software that you install on your own web host. The main difference between the two is you have more control over a WordPress.org, but a WordPress.com is easier to use. The reason that I like WordPress.org is that you can choose a hosting provider that fits your budget, and you can switch hosting providers as often as you need, and it doesn't change your site. So here's a quick takeaway. If you want simplicity, use Squarespace. If you want full control and more growth potential, go with WordPress. WordPress will also cost you less, but it will require attention more often. However, since you should be updating your site regularly, I personally don't see this as an issue. Take it as encouragement to stay on track with your website goals. All right, let's talk about branding and design and how you can make your website visually appealing and consistent. I want to start off with a challenge for you. Write down 3 adjectives that describe your brand's personality and anything that comes to mind. And when you have yours, feel free to drop them in the chat, or if you want to keep it to yourself, that's fine. I want you to look at your website, or if you don't have one yet, look at your social media, your business cards, anything that you share with people, anything that you share with your people. Do your adjectives feel like they match that branding? If you were to remove the context of what you do you still think that you would attract the same audience? If so, congratulations, you have a solid start. Now it's time to start expanding on that. And if not, it's okay. We've got some tools to help you get started. But you want to be thinking about how your branding matches up with how you're presenting yourself. Let's start with the parts of design that make your brand a whole. Did you know that 90% of snap judgments on products are made based on color alone? That means the color you choose for your website can make or break a visitor's perception of your brand. But here's where many people go wrong. They pick their favorite color instead of choosing colors that actually resonate with their audience. We actually worked with a brand recently that she really hates the color pink and made her whole brand like hot pink. And she said it's because it feels very feminine. She works with very feminine brands and it resonated with her audience. And when we did her brand shoot, everything looked stunning because you could tell from that imagery who she was talking to. Okay, so every color carries emotion and meaning. For example, blue is often associated with trust and professionalism, which is why so many tech and financial companies tend to use it. Red creates a sense of urgency and excitement. Green is linked to growth, nature, and health. Yellow evokes optimism and energy. But of course, there's different tones, darkness values that do affect the types of feelings you might have from these colors as well. So before you commit to a color scheme, think about the message that you want your brand to send and how that will connect with your audience. It's also not just about choosing pretty colors, it's about making sure your website is easy to read and accessible to everyone. High contrast between text and background improves your readability, especially for visitors with vision impairments or color blindness. For example, black text on a white background is much easier to read than light gray on white. And if your website is hard to read, people won't stay. So make sure your color choices prioritize visibility and accessibility just as much as aesthetics. Now let's talk about fonts. Typography plays a huge role in how your website is to navigate and read. For body text, sans serif fonts like Montserrat or Leto work best because they're clean, modern, and easy on the eyes. Save your decorative fonts or script fonts for accents like logos or headings. Font size matters too. You want to be at least 12 point, but ideally 16, to ensure that your text is readable across all devices, including mobile. And most importantly, be consistent. Once you choose your fonts, stick with them throughout your site. Using too many different fonts can make your site look cluttered and unprofessional. Now that we've talked about colors and typography, let's move on to another crucial element of your site's design, photography. Images are one of the first things people notice when they land on your site, and the right visuals can make an instant emotional connection. Think about the websites that have drawn you in the most. Chances are they feature real people, because we connect with faces. Seeing the person behind the brand builds trust and makes your business feel more approachable. So instead of showcasing products, logos, or generic graphics, incorporate personal imagery. This could be a professional headshot so people can put a face to your name, images of you working in your studio, at your desk, behind the scenes, doing some hands-on work. If you create physical products, show the process. And videos are a great way to connect with your viewers and keep them exploring your site longer. Just be sure that these aren't long videos. Don't make them wait for the good stuff. Try embedding a social media video. That's actually another great way we create some content for our social media is we strategize what we need to build for our website, and then we post it on social so we can embed it on our website. So these images tell a story and make your website feel uniquely yours. And lastly, add some movement to your site. Subtle animations, interactive elements, video, and more can make your site engaging and memorable. Now let's take action. Brooke is going to drop the link. We highly recommend that you solidify your branding before you overhaul your website. All roads lead to your brand story and establish visual identity so you speak to your audience effectively. A visual brand roadmap ensures that you don't have to redesign your website twice. So just a quick plug here. We do offer branding packages. You can get the whole shebang, or we can do a custom quote for you if you just need some basics to get started. From your logo to fonts, colors, brand shapes, textures, public voice, we can help. And we make all the additionals to support you, such as business cards, social media templates, one-pagers, resumes, and more. So feel free to email us, design@andrewsartistry.com, goes to both Brooke and I. Or you can fill out the contact form that's on our website to get a project started. Now we're into user experience and some common mistakes to avoid when creating your website. We've talked about making your website visually appealing, but a beautiful site means nothing if visitors can't find what they're looking for. A confusing, cluttered, or slow website will drive people away fast. Your website needs to be intuitive and easy to navigate so visitors know exactly who you are, what you offer, and what they should do next. So let's break it down. First, do visitors instantly understand what you do? When someone lands on your site, they should be able to answer this within seconds. If they have to go dig around for that information, they'll leave. Second, is there a clear action for them to take? Every website should have a primary call to action known as a CTA. So think about what you want visitors to do. Do you want to buy a product? Make a shop now button obvious. Do you want them to sign for your newsletter? Place the form where they can't miss it. You want them to book your services? A contact me or schedule a call button should be front and center. And make this button text intriguing. Learn more does not make you want to click. It makes it feel like we're in school again, and no one wants to do that. But if you say, explore your options, now it feels more like a journey. Third, a fast load time is critical. Did you know that 40% of users will leave a site if it takes more than 3 seconds to load? So speed matters. Here's some quick fixes that you can keep your site running fast. Optimize your images, and I'll give you some resources for that coming up too. Limit unnecessary plugins. Assure everything installed on your site is up to date. Use a fast hosting platform. When you start researching the platform that you're going to host on, be sure to compare loading speeds. That's something we ran into as we started expanding. We actually had to upgrade to a better hosting plan because our old one was making our site load really slow. Next, make sure your site is skimmable. This leads to better engagement on your site. People don't read websites like a book, they scan. So if your text is in big, dense paragraphs, visitors will bounce. To make your content skimmable, use headings to break up sections. Keep paragraphs short and use bullet points to highlight key info. Make sure your social media handles, as well as your email newsletter, are easy to find. People might be trying to find a way to follow you, and they land on your website first. If people want to follow you or connect with you, don't make them hunt for this. Lastly, but most importantly, make sure your site is mobile friendly. More than 60% of web traffic now comes from mobile devices, and Google only crawls mobile versions of your site. It doesn't even look at the desktop version. If your site isn't optimized for mobile, you're losing potential visitors. To make sure your website is mobile friendly, test it on your phone. Does everything load properly? Are the buttons easy to tap? There's no tiny links that are hard to click on. Is the text readable without zooming? We don't want to be pinching and zooming around. Most website platforms offer mobile previews when editing, so just be sure to check this before you hit publish. Let's discuss some of the most common mistakes that can hurt your site's performance. These are minor issues, but they can have a big impact on your user experience, conversions, and even SEO. First is having too many items in the top menu. Your navigation menu should be simple and clear. If you have too many links in the top, visitors won't know where to go first. So stick to the essentials like home, about, portfolio, events, and contact. If you have additional content, link them within your pages instead of cluttering the menu. Important content below the fold. So right below the fold means content that users have to scroll to see. Most important information, who you are, what you do, your CTA, should all live above the fold. Visitors decide in seconds whether they're going to stay on your site, and if they have to scroll to find the details, you risk losing them. Biggest pet peeve, and probably the thing that happens most often, is having more than one H1 per page. We're going to get into header tags and what that means, but this is referring to your header tags. It is a big one for both SEO and accessibility. Every page should only have one H1, which is your main heading. After that, you should be switching to H2s and H3s to structure the content properly. So why does this matter? Search engines use heading structures to understand your content, and screen readers rely on proper headings to help users with visual impairment navigate your page. Some of you will be tempted to use the header that looks the prettiest in your layout because a lot of the builders don't give you the option to change how they look. However, I want to remind you that this tag is not just about the look of your site. It's actually really important to your site's functionality, so use it properly. Some builders don't let you change the font in various header tags, so keep that in mind when you're building. That's one other reason why I love WordPress, is you can actually select the header tag and then you can change the size and the font and everything after. A clear heading structure improves both your search rankings and your user experience, so don't overlook that. Another mistake is not optimizing your images. Having large, uncompressed images slow down your website, which hurts both your SEO and your user experience. A slow loading website means people leave before they even see your content. So here's a couple free resources that you can use to optimize your images. tinyjpeg.com, compresspng.com. They're both free. They're both kind of annoying websites, but they're free. If you have Adobe Photoshop, that is what I recommend, but Adobe does also have their own image resizer that you can check out. And I don't think you need a paid account to use it. And the last one is broken links. So check regularly for broken links in Google Search Console or using another resource. We've listed a few on the resource guide that you'll get at the end of this presentation. A few things frustrate visitors more than clicking a link and landing on a 404 page not found. So if your links don't work, it makes your website feel outdated and unreliable. Make it a habit to regularly test your links, especially on your most important pages. Avoiding these mistakes starts with good planning. Before you start designing or redesigning your website, map out your structure. List out your essential pages, decide what content belongs on each page, and make sure each page has a clear CTA. Taking the time to plan ahead will make your website more effective from the start. Next, we're going to walk you through how to optimize your site for conversions. So let's move on to SEO basics. What is SEO and why should you care? SEO is search engine optimization and is how people find you on search engines like Google. A well-optimized site means more visitors and potential customers or followers. Let's dive into our step-by-step SEO guide. To improve your website search rankings, start by analyzing your competitors. Identify who ranks higher than you and figure out why. Step 1, you want to research your market and competitors. Find authors or creators in your niche. For example, if you write psychological thrillers and you're based in Denver, search for psychological thriller author Denver, and then study the top ranking websites. Though I know your audience is likely more than just Denver, try to be a top ranking site of psychological thriller author. That would be a lot more difficult than focusing in on Denver. So start small and then build up to the more concentrated keywords as you start nailing your strategy in the smaller ones. So look at those competitors' site structure, their headers, their content, understand what's working. Take note of keywords that you should be using on your own site, the types of phrasing that are working for them, and more. Now, the goal here is not to copy and paste, but to recognize where we can do better. We should never be copying somebody else's website. But if you're starting to realize, oh, they use this term that I never thought about before, it kind of opens your mind as to other ways you might be able to talk about your own work. Step 2, use SEO tools for insights. So SEMrush is a good one to help you discover competitor keywords and backlinks, which we'll get into next. Ubersuggest is a good one for finding trending keywords and seeing which competitor content performs best. Ahrefs helps you identify keywords your competitors rank for, but that you don't. And Google Search Console helps you track your own search performance. And this is a huge one, so we're going to get more into this one too. And then we're going to optimize our page content. Rewrite all of your headers using targeted keywords. Start by focusing on your top header, your H1. Then include keywords in your first paragraph and at least 3 times throughout the page. That's kind of the magic number, at least 3 times. Use H2 and H3 tags for all additional headers to support your main keyword with related terms. And then add alt text to all of your images on that page for both SEO and accessibility. And if you can use your keywords in your alt text on your images, it also helps support your SEO. And lastly here, write a compelling meta description with your key phrase. Your meta description is going to be, if you're in WordPress, you'll use like a plugin like Yoast or something like that. Or if you're in Squarespace, it's just like in your page settings. It basically is the preview that Google shows when you show up in listings. So that's your meta description needs to be super keyword rich. And you want to be sure that you're using your key phrase in that. A well-structured website keeps visitors engaged and helps boost your search rankings. So one way to do this is by building internal links. That is when you are connecting your pages, basically like a maze, to encourage visitors to explore more of your content. Internal links also helps bolster your SEO. It helps Google understand how your site functions. So for example, if you have an FAQ page or a section on your contact page for FAQs, link to a blog post that then answers one of those specific questions in more detail. That blog can then link to a related book or a service you offer. So that's how you just kind of keep going. You have to make sure every page kind of links to something else. You want to have internal links on every single page of your site. This is that maze we talked about at the start, where you want to keep people moving through your site, exploring more and more as they click through. It'll increase your site rankings through time spent on the site. And it also is just a better user experience because a lot of times if people aren't told what to do next, they're just done. So you want to make sure that there's a button that tells them like, now explore this next. And then we have backlinks. A backlink is when another website links to yours. Think of it as a vote of confidence. When a reputable site links to your content, Google sees it as proof that your website is valuable and trustworthy. This can help improve your search rankings, but also remember quality over quantity. A few strong backlinks from high authority websites are much better than dozens of low quality ones. That goes for your blog content too. So there's a few great ways to earn backlinks and increase your site's credibility. You can get featured on podcasts and share your experience and direct listeners to your website in the show notes of the podcast. You can do some guest blogging, write a post for a well-known blog in your industry and include a link back to your site. Get listed on resource posts or directories. Many websites create lists of recommended experts, tools, or services. Your local chamber of commerce is a great place to start for directories. And of course, PR opportunities, reach out to journalists or industry websites for features and interviews. And we always welcome if we have any clients who are interested in doing some guest blogging. That is always something that you can reach out to us about too. So now it's time to take action. Let's start improving your SEO today by listing the top 5 keywords that you want to rank for. Analyze your competitors and identify 5 additional keywords that they rank for that you might be missing. Implementing these strategies will strengthen your website's authority, attract more readers, and keep them engaged longer. So now let's get into tracking and measuring for your website success. All right, this part is a little dense. Take in what you can and know that this is a process. You might have to start from just getting these things set up and you might not be able to utilize them yet. That's okay. Wherever you are at is okay. Just start something. The first thing that everyone needs to do, and I can't count how many client sites I've worked on where they did not have this set up and they had been functioning for years, is set up Google Analytics and Google Search Console. And you want to set them up now. Even if you don't use them yet, these tools start tracking events for you. So you want to set them up as soon as you can. And that way, when you do start accessing data in the future, there's a backlog of information that you can always go back to. So start off by submitting your search map to Google Search Console. And there's a link how to do this in the resource guide I'm going to give you. Every time you update a page on your site or add a new one, also be sure to plug it into Google Search Console so Google will prioritize crawling it. Google does crawl websites automatically, but it can take days, weeks, or even months for changes to be reflected if you don't prompt it. So you'll want to plug it into Google Search Console to make sure that your site is recognized on Google immediately. And there is another linked video on how to do this in the resource guide. Now time to talk tracking. In Google Search Console, you can analyze your traffic sources to gain valuable insights into how people are finding your website. So first, take a look at the queries report and see what search terms users are entering to discover your site. This helps you understand which keywords are driving traffic and where you might want to optimize further. Next, check the pages report to identify which pages on your site are receiving the most search traffic. This can guide your content strategy by highlighting what's performing well. The countries report shows where your visitors are located, giving you a better understanding of your audience's geographic reach. And then lastly, review the devices report to see whether your users are finding you on mobile, desktop, or tablet. The insight is crucial for optimizing that user experience across different screen sizes. For most, you're going to notice that it's mobile, but a lot of B2B businesses tend to see a lot more desktop. So we tend to have a lot more desktop users. And I think that's because we're all on our computers all day. Makes sense. So by regularly reviewing these metrics, you can refine your content strategy, improve your SEO, and ensure that your website is reaching the right audience effectively. Then we're going to move on to Google Analytics, where we're going to look for bounce rate. Bounce rate is the percentage of visitors on your site who navigate away after viewing only one page. So they went to your site and they didn't click anywhere. They just left. If it's over 50%, then something is wrong on that page and you should address it. Then look at the average engagement time per page. This is how long they stay. Now, it only records time if they're actually engaging with the page, not just when a tab is open and unused. Higher is better than lower. We recommend aiming for at least 60 seconds. And then you're going to identify exit pages and review the user flow. Where do they exit? Use this information to identify and fix weak points. Use the user flow report to see what path visitors are taking through your site. Is the clicking maze helping or hurting? If you're continuing to get them to their end goal, then it's working. If they exit before they reach the page you want them to, then you need to adjust. And of course, there are other website search platforms to consider, but Google still dominates at close to 90% of global search engine market share. So my current recommendation is to prioritize Google in your strategy. However, with Search GPT becoming more popular, I'd also recommend adding a little TLDR section at the top of any blogs, which is like a summary. And that can help those search engines favor your pages. And if nothing else, just check these two numbers: traffic sources and bounce rate. Traffic sources are how people reach your site, such as organic search, direct typing, social media, referral links, paid advertising campaigns. So you can see what pages do well and how people get there, as well as rework any pages that have a high bounce rate. Don't forget, your website is not set it and forget it. I recommend conducting a quarterly website audit to keep your site fresh, functional, and optimized for search engines. Start by checking for broken links and outdated pages to ensure that all content is up to date and that visitors don't run into any dead ends. Next, refresh your photos and content by adding new projects, updating visuals, and making sure your messaging reflects your latest work and offerings. Also a great time to update your SEO keywords. Review what's ranking well and what's not, and then adjust accordingly to improve your search visibility. As part of your audit, take the opportunity to plan additional blog posts for the new quarter and maintain consistent content. Keep your audiences engaged. And finally, review and make updates to your overall strategy based on your website performance and goals. By making these regular adjustments, you'll keep your site working effectively and ensure that it continues to support your business growth. So now take action, go set up Google Analytics and Google Search Console now, and schedule quarterly audits of your site moving forward so that you can stay on track. If you only do 3 things after this webinar: secure a website, create a homepage, about page, and a contact page that all have a clear CTA, and then set up your Google Search Console and Analytics so you can start tracking traffic. All right, we've got a free checklist for you with additional resource links, but before we drop that, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about services that we can offer that can help you in your branding and website journey. So I'm hoping that you now see the importance of a well-built website. And do you feel like you can handle your website yourself? I hope that we've shown that's possible. But if you need a hand, we are here. We have a special offer just for those of you who have joined this webinar. You can book a website critique session or consultation if you want to talk through your website plan or talk through your branding plan. This is typically $250 an hour, but if you get on our calendar by the end of this week, we will give you $100 off. So this can help you get a solid plan if you want to DIY. Or if you have a site and you just need notes on what to adjust, we can always audit your site, help you create an SEO strategy on the call. We try to be as thorough in these calls as possible, and we do a lot of planning beforehand, so you do get a lot of bang for your buck here. We also offer website refresh. If you love everything you heard here, but you don't have the time to put it in place yourself, that's okay. We can help you with it. And now you know enough that you'll understand what we're helping set up for you, and you can continue to use it after. The website refresh package is for already existing sites that need a makeover. The idea is we want you to know how to use your site. So getting the bones in place helps you ensure that you're happy with the platform you choose. However, if you don't want to do any of that, we can always help with the setup too. We will do up to 10 web page designs, clean up all your headers, text elements with SEO optimization, implement all of your brand standards, add CTAs, ensure the user experience is fluid, and we'll also check your design for both mobile and desktop. We only take 2 website refresh clients a month since these can take a bit of time. So if you're interested in getting on our calendar, be sure to fill out a project request form on our contact page as soon as possible. And one more thing, there's our brand package. So we touched on this earlier, but we specialize in branding for creatives. We always recommend starting here so that you know what direction to follow when working on your site. We basically give you a guide that makes it plug and play when it comes to making your content. It not only saves you time and energy, but it helps you gain trust and understanding from your audience because they recognize you and your brand. Our full brand package includes logo, brand colors, fonts, up to 10 stylistic elements that you can use in your designs, defined photo treatments, layout samples, mission, voice, target audience. usage guidelines, and more. So it's a lot. We've put a lot of energy into this package. And you can decide you want to do the whole thing or just start with a small part that you can use to get your site started and then build on more when you're ready. Either way, we'll jump on a call and talk through your needs and get a quote to you that fits what you're ready for. We try to give you everything you need in your visuals in order, like at the very start. And we do offer other branding add-ons like flyers, social media templates, banners, business cards, resumes, brand illustrations for things like merch, and more. We've finally reached the free resource you guys have all been hearing about. And Brooke is going to drop that link in the chat for you. Be sure to download this file since it's only available for free for those of you who attended in person. For anyone viewing this webinar after the live event, you'll have an option to purchase this guide on the page below. And we are affiliates with SEO on Tap, which is run by our friends at Duo Collective. This is a great option if you have your website up and you want to figure out how to optimize your SEO yourself or how to strategize your content moving forward. Just be sure to use our affiliate code, Andrew's Artistry, when you sign up. My hope is now that you can walk away from this webinar knowing that you can do this. It is a lot to take on, but it is definitely doable, and it will make a world of difference for you in your business. And if you need any help along the way, we've got your back. So it is time for the Q&A.
All right. First question is from Zariah. Can I start my website before I have a brand?
Yes, with a caveat that you'll end up redoing it once you establish your brand. So our recommendation is always to start with a brand. Always start with a brand because it basically gives you the tools that you need to implement a cohesive look and feel for your design that will match anything else that you create. Now, do you need a full brand package at the start? No. It will help you. But if you need to prioritize getting your site up, just do like a mini brand package. Like we've worked with several authors and artists where we just give them like bones to start and then start on the website. And then that way they at least have some visual identity.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you do save money in the long run going with a brand because, you know, as you're designing a website, like you want to have your colors selected, you want to understand your audience, so you don't have to redo that again. So even just getting a couple things is perfect. Next question is, what kind of keywords should I use in my SEO?
Okay, so that's a tricky one because it's going to depend on your business, but that's where you want to kind of dive into the research that we outlined for you. And in that guide, we link all those free resources I mentioned, plus some extras. So I would start off by doing the research. Figure out who your audience is. And that's something that if you're doing a brand package, you're going to identify your audience as part of that. So it actually helps you get that head start. And then you can use that information to start figuring out what is your audience searching for online. And there's several different ways you can do so. We actually even have on our Instagram in highlights, there's like a little SEO section where we walk through some strategies for finding keywords. One of my favorites that we actually did feature in that section was using like the suggested questions that pop up on Google. So like we talked about, like a psychological thriller author in Denver. Type that in, scroll down to where Google gives you like people also asked. Those are additional keywords that you need to be considering.
And then Brooke asks, what does Google crawl mean?
Oh, yes. Good question. So, basically, Google, I think of them as little like bugs that like crawl all over your site because they're like digital bugs, right? It's basically telling Google to open your page and scroll through and click anything and see where it goes. So it's the digital version of you exploring a site. And they call it crawling, and I don't know why, but I think it's fun. And I think about like little internet bugs crawling all over your site and kind of taking note of everything.
We have a new question from Sherry here.
Yeah.
I don't only write in one genre, and I already know I won't be able to keep up with multiple different pen names. Totally get that. Mm-hmm. I can barely handle keeping up with the one that I have. So how do I search keywords or colors or audience to make my brand?
Sherry, I so relate to this. Brooke and I have gone through this. We have been through this so many times when we've been talking about who we serve, because we do authors, artists, dancers, crafters, like e-commerce companies that have creative. So like we have the same problem that it feels like there's so many people we're talking to. How do you do it all at once? That's where your brand comes in handy. When you work with a brand designer, that brand designer should be able to help you identify this is the most cohesive way to talk to that audience. We've talked to many marketing experts that tell us you should have a separate social media for every single audience. And I say, no, I don't care enough. Like my email newsletter is for that. That's why you start email newsletter. You get them subscribed to the thing that they actually care about. Social media, I'm like, look, social media is a resource. You can use it, but I'm not going to like pour all my energy into trying to make sure everyone feels taken care of there, right? We're just posting anything we can possibly share. So kind of similarly for you, like start with a brand guide that will help you get like the visuals that you need that will help kind of across those brands. And if you have a talented brand designer, they will know how to make sure this is your brand. This is how you use this brand for this audience. This is how you use it for this audience, right? So you can use parts and pieces of the brand in different ways so that it has a different feel when you're talking to like a particular reader. And then same thing with the blog, right? Like you just have different blog categories that kind of speak to each of those separate audiences.
And then Brooke asks, do you generally recommend dark text over light background, or does it not matter as long as there's high contrast between background and text?
Yes, as long as there's high contrast. So I wouldn't worry too much about which one. Just make sure that there's good contrast. Yeah, just don't use like gray on white or black because neither one of those is readable.
Yeah. And Sherry, I'm reading your comment here. We're happy to do a free chat with you if you want to fill out our contact form, like 15 minutes, and we're happy to kind of talk through the struggles that you're having and, just help figure out maybe what like first steps are. Sherry asked, should I even do a blog? What do authors blog about?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like that's a question we get all the time, right, Brooke? Is like, as an author, what do I blog about? Do I just like write short stories? No matter what your industry is, think about your blog almost in reverse. How do you get people to come to you? So you want to start off like, who is your audience and what is the problem that they have that you can solve for them? So like as an author, you could be like providing resources, right? So they might be like, I'm really into horror fiction and I don't know where to find that. And you could write an entire blog where you just give them like, here's some of the top communities and Reddit threads that I love, like you're kind of like becoming a resource for where they can find some of those best things. That's a great way to start writing a blog. Also, post your short stories because it gives them a little taste of what you do. So if you're an author and you're just like, here's a quick little short story I wrote, and then at the end of it, you can say, this story, like it really vibes with this book that I'm publishing, like click here to buy it. That's a great lead into a service. But if you want to book a coaching call, those are an hour long. And we will come up with like a list of ideas for you so that you can have like a full plan. I feel like once you get rolling on it, ideas just start popping all of a sudden. Like Brooke and I are always thinking of random blogs to write, and then we'll just like write it off to the side for when we're ready.
And then Phil is asking, are there certain WordPress plugin basics that are recommended? I get lost from things like Yoast, Jetpack, etc. Do you need these to have a functioning site, or are they just extras? Or best to educate ourselves? That's
a great idea. In fact, Phil, I feel like I should write a blog post on this. You just gave me a great idea for a resource that would help y'all. So yes, there are certain ones that are definitely useful. And there are some that are helpful, but not necessary. So a lot of it depends on your needs for your website. Personally, I would say Yoast, hands down, get it. Because the free version, I don't even pay for don't tell Yoast because maybe they'd sponsor us someday, but like, I don't even pay for the pro version. I just have the basic version. And it does all I need in order to like help identify if I'm on track. Basically, you can plug in your keyword. You can give it the meta description, give it the title. You can make your custom URL. So everything that comes after your domain name, that's actually keyword rich too. So you don't want to just be like short story. You want to be like short story about your whole URL is actually a keyword. So that's why I like Yoast, is that you can kind of customize those things really easily. Jetpack is really helpful for security's sake. And it can help speed up your site, but there's also a few others. Our problem for us is we put a lot of high quality images and stop motion videos on our site. So for us, there's a lot of them that like really help with speed. I tend to like the things that are going to help me design more easily. So we use like Elementor, and then I use like some of the different Elementor plugins that you can get so that you can have like more custom headers and stuff like that. This is why I love WordPress. You just have so many options. Squarespace is nice and easy. So if you're like overwhelmed by this presentation, go with Squarespace. I get it. It's not going to give you the flexibility that you have within WordPress. I can basically like find a plugin for absolutely anything I want to put on my site.
One question was, I've heard that I shouldn't post a blog, but instead save it for my email newsletter. Would that hurt my SEO?
We heard this from a few authors at the last conference we went to. They were told to just save all their good content for the newsletter so that people would want to subscribe to your newsletter. Here's the problem with that. The open rate on your emails is always going to be low. It is just naturally that way because of the way that certain platforms block emails from showing up in your main inbox. I'm sure y'all notice like the promotions tab and the updates tab, like you tend to end up over there and people just miss it, forget it, right? So your email list is important because you own it and you can segment your messaging, but your website needs to be where you put your most attention into because your SEO improves over time. So the more you work on your site and the more you build it up, the more you will be rewarded in the long run. So I would use your blog as a tool in your newsletter. Like give a little teaser in the newsletter. Like I just posted a new blog because who is going to go find your blog every single time you write one? They're not going to know. They need to be told. So use the newsletter to tell them to go read it and then put it in the book. You guys have been wonderful. This was so fun. I love talking to creatives. So yeah, feel free to get in touch if you need anything else.